Hey, everybody. Happy Wine Wednesday. Hope you're having a fabulous week and all your tanks and seahorses are doing terrific. I'm trying to mellow down the opener because I always try to trip over my words. I'm sipping on some Chardonnay. Let me know in the comments what you're sipping on. Chardonnay is my new thing. If you watched Wine Wednesday for years, I always was a red girl. I've really gotten into Chardonnay. It's just light and fluffy for our night, and I don't get as tongue-tied at the end, right? Anyhow, let me know what you're sipping on. If you're on Instagram, as per usual, it might look a little funny. The picture is just the aspect ratio. You're more than welcome to listen on Instagram, but if you want to see the video and see the pictures more clearly, hop on over to YouTube, search Seahorse Whisperer, and then you'll see us live. We'll be the first thing you see on the channel. Also, the more people that subscribe, the more it helps the channel. So try to definitely go and subscribe on YouTube, even if you prefer to watch somewhere else on Facebook or Instagram. Also, we do just a little cleanup before we start Ray is joining us. Ray, you usually don't come when we have a guest, when we're focusing on somebody. So I thought you just weren't coming.
No, I had pushed the button, and for some reason, I guess it didn't go through. And I was sitting here waiting. All of a sudden, I'm on Wine Wednesday, and I hear you come on, and
so you're not in. Well, I'm glad you figured it out because we love
when
you come.
Cheryl's not a guest speaker; she's a partner in this.
Right. Absolutely. She is absolutely a partner in this, and I'm just excited to show her tanks. But one of the things before we get started with Cheryl, I just wanted to ask if there was any updates that Holly or Ray you need to share or want to share before we jump over to Holly. Did you get your char chamber?
I did. Yeah, I shared some video with you of the Seahorses enjoying it, and it's been going since Sunday. And today was water change day, and I noticed after the water change, the water is really super clear, like really sparkling clear water compared to usual. And it got rid of the, like, you know how after you, because it's fresh salt water, it's kind of cloudy in there for a while. Got rid of it faster. It's super clear in the tank. So I already see a difference.
Well,
and the Seahorses are checking out the bubbles that, Scrappy Doo had his face in the bubbles this morning. Nobody's hitched to it yet, but they've been investigating it and checking it out, and
that's awesome.
And I can notice a difference in the water.
That quickly
already. 3 days. Yeah.
The biggest thing I noticed with the one I installed today is all of a sudden I've got copepods scooting around everywhere. Don't ask me.
Hang on, Cheryl, not to interrupt you at all, because this is kind of your day, but we've got you're going to talk about that during the slideshow, so we're going to let you get in depth about how that's working for you. Thank you, Coral Vids, for reminding me. It's Robert King's chamber is what the product that we're talking about, and it does run Aquachar, so 2 products in one. And that Kevin, who comes constantly to the channel and is a great supporter, actually donated some to me. I'm a failure, guys. I still got to get the video up because I made a video because I actually cleared mine. And what I did, and let me know anybody out there, actually I'm rambling, but let me back up and just say the reason I even got involved with all this is Tyann, who does Tank Talk with Tyann. So hopefully you're a member of that group because she's awesome. And she started using the Robert King's Aquachar chamber in her was it copepod? No, I'm going to stumble. They're clownfish breeders. So it wasn't copepods. I think it was, what was it, you guys? Now I'm stumbling over myself. What was she using it in?
Was it rotifers?
It might have been. Anyway, if you want to know, make sure that you guys go check out Tank Talk with Tyann because I'm stumbling here. Sorry, I'm focused on Cheryl tonight. But then Kevin, I said I wanted to try one in a Seahorse tank because it was making such a difference for them. Robert came on the show. You guys should go watch those episodes. He's been on multiple times. Just search under Seahorse Whisperer for Robert King or Char Chamber or whatever. And basically, I was given 2, and I've used 1 in my 40-gallon all-in-one. And I've talked endlessly, like Holly has just now, about how much of a difference it's made in water quality and etc. But I was putting mine in the back chamber of my all-in-one because I just didn't know how the Seahorses would react to it. So Holly, you've shown the difference. Oh, before I have Holly talk again, basically Kevin went and then helped Cheryl get one because she was wanting to play with it, and Robert of course helped get Cheryl one, and she's going to talk about that during her slideshow. And then Holly, we had a contest. Robert King actually donated a chamber to the contest a few weeks ago, and Andrea won. And because Andrea had already gotten her own char chambers, she donated her winning to Holly. So having given the whole spiel now, Holly, you put yours actually in the tank, right? It's not in the sump.
I actually put mine in the display tank. Yeah, I put it in the corner of the display tank on the side that has the sand, and it's kind of a quieter area in my tank, less flow. So I thought that'd be a good spot for it. And Scrappy Doo likes to sit in that corner. It's his favorite spot to hang out. So it actually got put in the tank on his birthday. So it was kind of a birthday present too. And yeah, they were curious about it right away. A few of them were, like him and Candy were curious about it, started checking it out, and decided it's all right. So they've been sitting next to it. And now and then, like the first thing I saw was Scrappy Doo was dancing in the bubbles. Yeah, but it's in the corner. So he was doing his dance in the corner and kind of just happened to be in the bubbles. And he thought that was cool. So later on, this morning, 3 days later, I see him and he's hitched onto the hitch next to it, but he has his head in it, in the bubbles. So he was enjoying having his head in the bubbles. They haven't hitched to it, but they'll sit next to it, and then stick parts of their body in it now and then. So they like it. And then, like I said, I did my water change today as usual. And I noticed like a couple hours later, the water is so clear. It reminds me like crystal spring water. I mean, I haven't noticed it that clear before, even after a water change. And I mean, the water change, of course, helps, but it helped clear up the cloudiness faster, after the water change, because I mix my salt the same day I do the water change. So it's always a little cloudy at first, but it didn't last as long today, and the water got super clear and super pretty. So I got some great pictures, of the Seahorses today because of that. So yeah,
real quick question. One more question for you, and then we'll move forward because we want to get to Cheryl. It is Cheryl's Tanks and Tubs Day. And Cheryl, we want to hear your opinions when we get to that picture. So I'm not cutting you off. Everybody stay tuned. Cheryl's going to give you her take. But I forgot, I was rambling and trying to spit out all my information. The second chamber that I was donated, Robert King's chamber that I was donated, is going to be used in I'm setting up my fry tubs again, hoping I get more fry. If I don't, I'm getting more Seahorses because I want fry. And I'm setting the tubs up like Cheryl does, which she's going to explain in a little bit. And in the sump, I'm going to use the second chamber just to see if it makes a difference. I'm going to set up 2 sets of tubs with each a sump. So that's where the second one will go. But I would say that I agree with Holly. When I first used it, I just couldn't believe I had a bacterial problem and it got cleared up quickly. There's just a lot of benefits. And my question, now that I'm getting it to Holly, is I was a little afraid. Robert King came on this channel and was very clear that you can put it straight in the tank. You can clean it, I guess, because, Aquachar is not like charcoal, but it can put black dust in the water. And so you can just stick it in the tank. But I personally, what I did is when I did a water change, I put the chamber into the tank water that I had pulled from the tank, the not dirty water. Well, the dirty water. And I basically cleared it that way so that if there was any dust, it would come out into the dirty water and not into my tank. And also because it's cycling through, it's kind of pulling in those nutrients that I was pulling from the tank. So it's kind of starting it up, kick starting it or whatever. Did you stick it directly in the tank or did you clear it, Holly?
No, I stuck it. Well, it came with a paper with directions, and it said to run it in water for 15 minutes prior to clear out any dust, any charcoal dust.
Right.
And I did that. And there was some loose charcoal dust in the bucket. And I'm just going to use that to water my plants. But none showed up in the aquarium. 15 minutes, just like it said in the thing. So, and I used that time too to try and adjust, because I have a pump that has, like I told you before, I have the one I just got not long ago that has 6 outlets, and they're all controllable. They have a lever. So I had a hard time getting it to where, because it says you don't want it to bubble too much because it'll go through the char faster. You want it to bubble kind of slowly. But when I was adjusting the air, I've had a hard time getting it from either not at all to full bore.
Or whoosh, yeah.
Exactly. So it took a while to kind of adjust the air. And it's not going super fast. It's going a little fast, because if I don't have it going a little bit fast, it doesn't come out of all the holes. It'll only come out the middle hole, or not at all. So I got it to where enough bubbles, I think, are coming out to where the seahorses can enjoy it, but it's slow enough to where it'll help the char last longer.
Makes sense perfectly. And anybody out there who's using the chambers, Robert King chambers, let us know if how, because I'm wondering maybe I know he tucks that char in there quite compactly, but I'm wondering if you adjust. I know we're gonna stay tuned, because Cheryl's gonna give us her take on it, and she's actually gotten extra materials and she's playing with things. But I'm not gonna let you tell yet, Cheryl, because real quick, I want to ask Ray if there's any updates from you, and then do Holly's question, and then we're going to Cheryl. Ray, any updates from you?
Says it's looking perfect the way I have it, because he's seen my video. So
good.
So yeah,
perfect.
It's just, I've got it to where it comes out of all the holes.
Yep.
Just
I think that's the key.
Kind of what I was looking for.
Be careful with your males, because years ago I had an open-ended airline, or actually it was an air stone, and I had a male. 3 times a row in less than 15 minutes, he'd dance with a female, go over, hitch to the airline, inflate his pouch, and happily float to the top of the tank. He's the only seahorse I ever truly named, and I named him after Jeff Foxworthy's jokes. Here's your sign.
Love it.
He just, I had to move everything around and rearrange everything, because he wasn't going to stop.
Well, he was obviously having fun, though, because Dan's told us repeatedly that those kind of bubbles won't cause like air, gas pouch emphysema or anything. It's just,
and I don't see mine doing it. I mean, Dandy doesn't open his pouch, for one thing. He's handicapped. I don't think he'll even go up there. And Scrappy do so far. He doesn't want to sit on it. He likes to stick his head in it, but I don't see him making it a thing. He's just not that excited, Cheryl.
No. I tell you, I did 3 pouch.
He hasn't even had fry yet. He's a pretty calm seahorse.
I did 3 pouch evacs on him in a matter of like 15 minutes. And then I said, that is the end of this.
Yep. Well, I will say too that I've decided, because I've got other equipment that I can put in the back of my all-in-one that will help me too. So I'm moving my Robert King chamber to the tank, because I really like the idea that the seahorses enjoy the bubbles. We'll take your heat, Cheryl, but I'm going to move it. So I will still post the video that I made of setting, getting it in the tank and such, but then I'll post an update showing that, I've moved it to the tank. So Ray, any updates from you, seahorse or other, anything going on?
No, everything's all the same. So you can get right on with Cheryl.
Okay. Ray's like, you women never shut up. I don't even want to interrupt. But no, your male's still doing okay?
Oh, he's getting a little lonely, I think, now. He's not moving around as much. So, but I was kind of expecting that. But it is what it is.
Right.
We go with him and see how long he's going to keep going.
Yep. No, absolutely. Well, still keep us updated, and still think we still appreciate the heck out of all your sharing information. Just like Cheryl, you've been doing this forever, and even if you like Dan and Cheryl, even if you're not keeping Seahorses anymore, coming to Wine Wednesday and sharing information is so valuable. So we appreciate you. And then before, right, Cheryl, I know you're. Go ahead, Ray.
I just remembered Cheryl and I have been talking back and forth, but I ended up talking to you remember Zena Fish, Zena Campbell from Seahorse Org days.
Okay.
Now she's a friend of mine. She lives in Toronto area.
I know who you're talking about.
We were checking out something else there, and the fellow that we were talking about has a business, and he was saying that he's raising seahorses, but his partner tells me that they're not. So anyway, in our conversation, she told me the abs that they now have in the Toronto area are going for a little over $300 a piece.
Holy moly.
Wow.
Well, see, this individual contact, he went to join group. And the way that his application read was a little different. And so I messaged him back that I could not accept him under those circumstances. Well, then everything changed. And I got a hold of Ray because Ray's the one I go to for Canada. And Ray found out that his significant other, we don't have any seahorses. And so now we're both like,
right. Well, who knows? And we don't want to tell dirty business. This isn't we don't do drama. But I'm just saying, I get why, Ray, you brought it up, and we'll figure it out. I want to say hi, Robert. We just talked about the Robert King Chamber for like the first 20 minutes of the show, and Cheryl's going to talk about it at the end of her slideshow. So if you want to jump in at any point, feel free. We'll let you talk at the end if you'd like. But and also, before we start with Cheryl, but sorry, I'm jumping around. But Robert, we do appreciate you. And like I said, Holly's very satisfied. Go back and watch the beginning of this. We're all shouting praises. Yes. And then Cheryl's going to talk about her experience so far at the end of her slideshow. But what was the last thing? Oh, before we start with Cheryl, Holly did ask. And if you ask a question as we're going through Cheryl's tubs and tanks, because that's today's episode, ask your questions. I won't miss them, and we'll cover them at the end, I promise. But Holly did ask before we even get started, has anyone gotten flatworms in their seahorse tank? If so, how did you get rid of them safely? Ray, I think you answered her. What did you say?
Well, from me, don't have any personal experience with it, but I can't see any safe way other than to shut down, put the seahorses in the hospital tank and sterilize everything. And then Heather mentioned that she got some scooter blennies. But from my knowledge of flatworms from before Seahorse days, that putting something in like that to eat them is only going to control them. It's not going to get rid of them. And the control will only be as good as how you maintain your tank also, because the dirtier the tank is, the more the flatworm problem is going to be there. Now, Heather may have had luck with putting them in because of more diligence in maintaining the tank water quality, but not everybody goes to that extent.
Well, years ago, I bought some copepods from someone I knew. And I was feeding them to one of my nurseries. And the next thing I know, I'm seeing flatworms in my nurseries. And they're grabbing the neonatal seahorses by their tails.
Oh.
And during the same time frame, the same person messaged me frantically. I just realized my copepod population was infested with flatworms. And I'm thinking to myself, no kidding. I was so discouraged. But it's one of those things, it can happen. And when they're tiny, they're not easy to see. The way
What'd you do, Cheryl?
I had to break down the tank. I tried treating the seahorses. They were young with, it wasn't really a freshwater dip, but it was a low saline drip. And I still lost quite a few and that, under those circumstances.
I'm so glad you brought that up, though, Cheryl, because I agree with what Ray said. Most of the problems we have in our tanks have to do with, upkeep and maintenance and et cetera. But with things like flatworms, it's so often that it gets added by something you add. You know what I mean? So it's not the kind of thing like ciliates, where if you let the tank organics get crazy, then the ciliate population that's already there always will multiply and cause the seahorses or other things problems. This is something that has to literally be added. It's not, what's the word for it's always there? I never remember the word. There's a word for
ubiquitous.
Cheryl, what's the word? What was it?
Ubiquitous?
Maybe. That might be it. But there's a
ubiquitous. Yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway, I agree that they have to be added. But what I'm saying is the population growth is going to be according to the tank, the food that they're going to get supplied. So if you're extreme with your husbandry, they can't get to plague proportions. If you're not that extreme in your cleaning, then you're in trouble.
I don't disagree.
And just adding certain fish may not be the answer.
Well, Robert King actually, hang on. Robert King actually breeds clownfish, and he's here, Mr. Robert King, the chamber. And he says female green spot mandarin. I do agree with what you're saying, Ray. And also when you add something, there's risk in that. But he's a clownfish breeder. That's not the same as seahorses, but we have so much transfer of information. And Holly or Heather said gobies, I think. Is that what she said? Gobies?
Blennies, scooter blennies.
Excuse me, scooter blennies.
But the thing is, those you can't do that in a fry system. You're basically you're up against a wall when that happens, and you've got to get them out of there because you don't want to risk them cross-contaminating another tank. Yeah,
and that's why I asked in the comment section to the reef keepers, because I remember I had flatworms in my reef. Of course, we all know that's a different kind of system than a fry system or even a seahorse system. But there's coral in there, there's fish that are delicate. And I remember I got them in my refugium and they were all over. And I know it came in on macros. I know it did. And I can't remember how I got rid of them. It's killing me. So if I remember, Holly, I know we haven't helped very much today, but I'm going to go back and go through my notes because I always kept my notes on the reef tank. And I'm going to find out what I used because it was a product and it was safe. And it was safe for all the fish and all the coral and all everything. And I'm guessing it would be safe for seahorses. I don't know why not. But if anybody's in the comments that's used something to get rid of flatworms, put it up in the comment section, because if not, I'm gonna have to go through my notes and find it and talk about it next week. Sorry, I can't help right now. I just can't remember. It was so many years ago. I can't remember.
Flatworm X?
What? No, it wasn't any. It wasn't like Flatworm X. Well, and Robert said Flatworm
exit or Flatworm exit. Yeah. Robert King says.
Robert, would you use that in your clownfish fry tanks? Because that's what I'm getting at. Holly said Flatworm exit too. Because, and I'm so sorry. I really do. I don't remember. So I'm going to have to go through my notes. But I just know I was very careful with whatever product I chose. And this was years ago again. But I remember making sure it was safe. So I'm sorry I can't answer you right now. But Robert, let us know if you would use it in a fry tank, if it's safe and that kind of thing.
He says no.
Robert said no. Okay. So Robert, maybe you'll have to in the comments or jump in later if you have time, or do a post or something what you would do if you got them in a fry tank, because that's basically equivalent to a seahorse tank.
I can't think of anything other than just breaking down the tank and thoroughly scrubbing it and having to eliminate everything that was in that tank. And
well, I'm gonna sorry, go ahead. I just remember that in my reef tank, I couldn't do that. There was that was not a possibility. I could not do that. And I was in a place where I'd had the tank running for so many years. I didn't want to add anything to eat it. I just wanted to figure it out. So let me do my research and check my own notes, Holly, and I promise I will bring this up next week and let you know what I discover. Also, I will ask Dan, and I would just say, watch Seahorse Whisperer page on Facebook, because I'm going to put up a post right after tonight's episode that allows you guys to ask your questions to Ask Seahorse Source for the final Ask Seahorse Source Part 4. I feel like I've said that too many times, but I'm going to post something where you guys can ask any questions based on the topic for Part 4 or based on anything like this that you want Dan to answer. And we're going to make a date and do Ask Seahorse Source Part 4. So please pay attention to the post and put your questions there so he's prepared and he doesn't be like me and say, I got to check my notes, right? Okay. Oh, and Robert said the flatworms release toxins when they die. That's a good point. I'm going to check my notes. We'll cover this next week, I promise. Okay, anything else before we jump to Cheryl, you guys? All right. Well, tonight's episode was focused on Cheryl Taylor's tanks and tubs, because Cheryl gives such good advice every Wednesday. And so we asked her to kind of cover her basic setup and why she sets things up in a certain way for seahorses. And then also cover her tricks and tips for her seahorse tubs and why they are so effective. So she shared some pictures. Do you want me to go ahead and start? Oh, I did forget to say, Cheryl, how long have you been keeping seahorses and working with seahorses?
I started keeping them, I want to say, in 2004.
I mean, come on. These guys that have been doing this that long are giving us an easy way because they did all the difficult stuff.
Well, it was early 2007 when I finally joined Seahorse.org and several other groups. By then, the reason I joined is I suddenly was finally able to raise fry to adulthood. And back then, the only two breeders that were commercial breeders you could find were ORA, who shut down when they got a new CEO many years ago and eliminated their seahorse breeding program, and Dan, who at that point was actually in the beginnings of setting up his business.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, for all intents and purposes, everything out there were wild caught.
Yep.
It was.
So you did all the hard work.
It was an interesting journey. And what I want to do this evening is there's still a lot of misinformation out there that goes back years. And it's one of those things where if people go to the wrong places and get advice, they're not going to have success because we already know that this won't work. But it's still out there as supposedly being current, and it's not necessarily current.
We thank you so much for sharing this information. Do you want me to start the slides or do you want to say anything else? Okay. All right. So we're going to, and guys, ask any questions and I'll ask her and we'll all ask her some questions as we go. But she's the pro here. So let's ask her some questions. All right. Let me get it going here. All right. All right, Cheryl, what are we looking at?
Okay. This is a classic example of what I used to do for seahorses. Basically, it's a DSA 65-gallon tank. It's got tunnels behind. It's got a pile of rock in there. And the biggest concern with a tank like this is unless you have a flow-through system, or not necessarily a flow-through, but actually a
drill
multiple returns coming in different areas to keep flushing, or some high-powered wave makers or power heads. This type of tank collects a huge amount of detritus. Mm-hmm. And it's virtually impossible to clean because the tunnels in behind, if you start taking rocks out, the tunnels are going to cave in. A lot of people, even now, these days, build them like this. And it really can become a recipe for disaster unless you have your flow. Closed loop is what I was thinking. Closed loops work really well. A friend of mine used to have a closed loop system, and he also used to have returns buried under the rock to flush behind the rock. And that's pretty much what it's going to take to be able to keep a tank like this going long term and keep it clean.
What's a closed loop system, Cheryl?
Closed loop means basically you're running your returns back. It's going over the overflow. It's going through the skimmer, but now you have multiple holes drilled in different parts of the tank where you have the flow coming in rather than just back out of your normal returns. So you're continually flushing the tank. And quite frankly, those can be a recipe for disaster because you've got so many different holes in so many different places and so much PVC. When they fail spectacularly.
You have a wet floor, right? or a mess.
Yeah. And you have seahorses sitting in an inch of water. They're just, I know people used to use them years ago. They were very popular for a long time in the reef community. And I don't know many people that are using closed loop systems anymore.
Okay, and the other suggestion for this type of tank with a bunch of rock is power heads, like in certain areas to stop the detritus from collecting.
Yeah, it will slow it down, but what happens is all you're doing, even when you're adding power heads or wave makers, is you're just throwing it into another portion of the tank, which means you're not getting rid of it. You're just moving it around, which helps facilitate, but it does not eliminate the detritus that's collecting in the tank.
Okay, and so and unfortunately, because we didn't plan this ahead of time, I don't have a picture of your current like actual Seahorse tanks. We're going to go through the tubs and such, but so what is your suggestion to fix these problems? Like no sand, less rock? Go ahead.
I have moved on. My tanks are all bare bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things that a lot of people don't like because they want a pretty tank. But if you're going to have a pretty tank, you need to talk with someone like Susan Hoffner or somebody like that who has the flow set up for the tank the right way to keep the tanks clean. They also require a lot more maintenance than a bare bottom tank because imagine you're feeding this, you're broadcast feeding, you've got food flying everywhere. A lot of the spaces the seahorses can't get to. And what you're doing is gradually accumulating more and more and more debris in the tank. And eventually you're going to run into problems with it.
Well, and I would just add, because I do bare bottom also, but I like a pretty tank. So I like rock sculptures and all that stuff. I still use rock in my tanks, but I do have to use a turkey baster. And every time I do a water change, I have to blow them and blow in all the holes and make sure anything collected there is not staying collected instead of just, taking from the bottom or taking from the water column. I literally have to blow rocks. You got to be careful and blow them. Anything else you'd say about size wise? Do you want to go through any of that, or should we go?
I'm trying to go into what?
Should we, do you want to say like anything about minimum size for seahorses as tank size?
Oh, I'm going to get into that in a moment. I'm just showing this as a problem, a maintenance problem. The other thing too, to keep in mind when you have a tank like this, that's so full of rock, it's very hard to keep track of your seahorses. You need a large copepod population, and shrimp and other detritivores, nacerious snails, things like that will also help. But I'm just saying this is something that I used to do that I do not do any longer for the reasons of maintenance.
Gotcha. Okay, and now what is this? The sump that was on that tank?
No, that sump is actually I've got at least 9 or 10 of those that I built myself. Okay. And I have a sump on each one of my systems. I no longer use any canister filters. It's one of those things that, I've got a K1 media in there. I've got a skimmer rated for 180 gallons. And this was probably on a 58-gallon tank. I built my first, I had filtration in there. Then in the next chamber, I have rubble rock. This was not completely filled up yet. It was obviously cycling. And the smaller chamber to the right of that is where I put in my Purigen bags and my activated carbon, which I won't be doing anymore with the carbon. Right. I also have ball valves on each one of my pumps, so I can release water if I want to adjust the flow on a tank very quickly. And it also saves wear and tear on your pump's motor because I'm just draining water right back into the last chamber.
Okay, so let's walk through this sump. Can you guys see my arrow? Move it.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the
so
skimmer.
the water comes in here, and it goes. It looks like it goes. It looks like
Well, it goes
comes
through the filter
through.
sock. Yeah, no, it goes through the filter sock that's behind the skimmer.
Yep.
Then it moves over into the next chamber where the K1 media reactor is. Yeah, exactly.
And that reactor is what? Because you guys need to check out the video Cheryl and I did about her K1 media reactors. But this K1 media reactor is made out of what, Cheryl?
That's actually, I cut all the innards out of all my old Core Life Super Skimmers that I always hated for so many years. And I turned them into K1 media reactors because they're tall. They can hold a huge amount of biofiltration material, but they don't take up a lot of space.
So real quick, I've always wondered this. 2 questions about the K1 media reactor. What is the blue airline? Where is it coming from and what's it doing?
The thing is with the K1 media reactors is you want them heavily aerated. And so that's actually a rigid airline going down into the K1 media.
So there's no pump attached to that anymore.
Yes,
It's just
I also have flow through on the pump that comes in from the top and also helps keep the K1 media rotating in action, because one of the points of K1 media is the self-cleaning if you keep it moving correctly. It makes it very easy to take care of.
So then from the K1 media reactor, it looks like there's a little sponge area.
No, actually, that's just a brace to hold the division in place.
Gotcha. Then it goes into the rubble rock.
Right. That one doesn't have much in it yet.
It was an older one.
Cycle rock. I tend to cycle rock outside of the tanks, and then only put in cycled clean rock that I know doesn't have anything on it.
Sure. And then it goes. Sorry, go ahead.
The next chamber is just to the right of the smaller piece of rock. That's where I typically put my Purigen, activated carbon, stuff like that. I have special bags for them, and then it goes through there, and then finally the pump chamber.
And what's the black thing in the pump chamber?
That's actually an old Marineland pump. Most of my pumps are like 15 years old, and they were the old Marineland pumps that were built in Italy that came with a lifetime warranty. They're still ticking, taking a licking, and keep on ticking. I'll tell you that. And they are adjustable, so you can adjust.
Absolutely.
Your flow.
Awesome. And then this is the ball valve you're talking about, right?
Right.
So you can adjust. Okay. And last question for you is, what's this line?
This is coming off of a nursery tank, and I have two basically returns on each nursery system. And the braided that you see back of that is actually the drain that goes into the filter sock. If you look at the filter sock, you can see a kind of white blob just up right there. That is actually going into the filter sock.
Gotcha. Very cool. And anything else? Like, I mean, because you make these sumps, right? Like you're like gluing these I can't bevels. It's not bevels. What's the word, you guys?
Yes.
But you're making the areas, correct?
Yeah, I know
the
what
partitions, I guess you could call them.
Partitions. Thank you, Holly. Partitions. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know what I want, and quite frankly, I use the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid, and make it so it makes sure it works. And I've got at least 9 of these sumps that I've built myself. All my old tanks for raising fry and stuff are now sumps.
Yep. And if you want any advice on actually making a sump like this, you just got to go into Seahorse Sources group and contact Cheryl Taylor. Yeah. And one last question, Cheryl. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the person that gave me the idea was back years ago when Mark Levinson was building his own sumps like this. And I used his principles to build the sumps that I have now.
Mark Livingston of Milev's Reef is definitely a friend to all of us.
Got it.
For sure.
You got it.
And then final question, Cheryl, that looks like a huge butted skimmer. What rating skimmer do you use for what rating tank?
I use 180 gallon rated skimmers.
For how big of a tank?
Well, like some of my largest systems, total water volume, are going to be my nursery tubs because I plumb 2 into one skimmer, and those are rated. Those hold a little less than 70 gallons.
So you want at least double. Your skimmer should be rated at least double the Seahorse tank.
Yeah, 2 to 3 times total water volume.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
Anything
these skimmers are the SCA 302s. The difference is now they're over $200. When I got mine, I bought a bunch of them because when I get a good deal, I stock up. And I got them for under $80 a piece.
Right. But the bottom line is on your Seahorse tanks, and you've been doing this since 2004, you do an overrated skimmer. You like to use K1, and then you just use Rubble Rock and some really good, but you don't have the fancy schmancy, Apex and all that. You just keep it simple. A sock, a skimmer, K1, Rubble Rock. And now, of course, the Robert King char chamber that we'll talk about at the end, but that wasn't what you used at first until recently. But I mean, you don't have any fancy stuff. You just use what you have and make it work, and it's working.
I just know I've been at this long enough. I know what works for me and what won't work for me. And so when I build stuff, I make stuff that works for me. And yes,
Absolutely.
that inline tube going into the K1 Media Reactor is too long. I need to cut it off.
Look, she's criticizing her own picture, you guys. Anything else you want to say, or Holly or Ray, you got any questions before we move to the next picture?
No, it's pretty simple. I mean, that's kind of how I like to do it too. I mean, I don't use the fancy UV stuff or anything else. I just have a basic sump.
Well, now I have hang on back UVs on the tanks also, but they're in the back where you can't see them. But
yep, and Cheryl, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but since we don't have a picture, can you tell us, do you prefer a certain brand or anything, or just hang on back UV?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I bought a lot of light bulbs or UV sterilizers, and these are the black ones that come in for they have two
like the Suns.
Oh, I forget what they're called. Mainly, I got more because I had a lot of extra light bulbs, and the bulbs are what's expensive.
Sure. Okay, well, we'll try to get a picture of that next time. Okay, moving on to the next. Well, shoot. No, it's not. Let me move on. There we go. What did we have this picture up for?
Okay, this is me being me. I have over 12 of these artificial finger leathers from Ocean Aquatics.
Ocean Aquaria.
Ocean Aquarium. And the thing is, they want $40 some odd for a base. Well, what I did is I dug out a bunch of small pieces of rock, ordered some of their nylon plugs that screw into the bottom of these, drilled a hole in each rock, and plugged them in. And plugged the artificial hitch into the rock. It holds it upright. It takes 2 fingers at most to move them around if I want to clean around them. And I can take the rock apart, throw it into a tub to keep it cycled, and put any one of these that need cleaning into I use hydrogen peroxide, but it's to clean them. And I just rotate them through. They're easy and they work.
I love it. And I haven't gotten to the point where I'm smart enough to buy these because I know Holly has. Are they stiff or are they bendy? I'm looking
They're
at
like
them.
rubber. They're silicone, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're totally bendy. So if a seahorse gets stuck, it's easy to get them out. You can just move them apart and let them out. They're not rigid at all. They're bendy. They're
My seahorses are softies. They like soft things to hitch to.
Yeah.
And they have
Very
them
cool.
colored in blue, red, all kinds of different colors.
They have a million colors. They have neon, glow in the dark stuff, and yeah, they have cool colors.
And they have a bunch of
Miss
different
Hol-
options.
Miss Holly, send me a link to their site so I can put it in the comments if you would.
I will do that.
And
They
anything
actually,
else we
but I've never had one. I've never had one break. I've never had a problem with cleaning them. They clean up really well. Soak them in some H2O2, and I think it's a 3% solution if their instructions, if I remember correctly. And don't bother to spend your money buying their bases. Why spend 40 some odd dollars for that when you can pull out a rock and spend a few minutes drilling a hole in it? Oh, and my cat is right here on the left inspecting them.
There you go. We need the cat's inspection for sure. And I love these creative ideas. And I mean, it looks like you're showing that you can make a pretty tank even with artificial things that don't require as much care. Because I like true Gorgonians, but I'm literally looking at these thinking I might switch because the true Gorgonians need lighting. They need fed. They, you know, I mean, it's a big old pain in the boudoir where these are easy. I love it.
Well, when
okay.
When you have as many tanks as I do, I don't have time to go through and do a weekly scrubbing on each tank. I would probably find me dead outside next to the faucet with the RODI. I don't have the time.
So I put the
grill.
I thought I put the Robert King
char.
Hang on. I thought I.
Okay. Oh, there's by the way, there's one of the artificial corals in the rock.
In the back, I see it.
Yep. I always play around with things, and I got the aquachar running. It's blowing bubbles. It's looking good. I just started it today. I've already been playing around with it, and one of the things I told who did I tell? Holly.
Probably me. I think me.
Yeah, is one of the things I want to do for some of the species that produce a smaller fry, like combs and engines and stuff. I'm going to build a little bowl, wrap it and make it like I do for my some of my other equipment, and basically my returns on my fry tanks, and cover it though such that fry can't get stuck to the sponge. It's an easy build. But
this is go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, this is the aquachar.
I was just going to say, this is the Robert King char chamber that was sent to Cheryl. I thought I had it at the end of the slideshow. Apparently I moved it up. And so just to let people know, this isn't airline, rigid, going into the Robert King chamber. And then you can see the bubbles coming out. And how did you adjust? Oh, whoops, sorry. How did you adjust the flow?
I have a ball valve. I have a air valve on that particular pump that I can adjust it. And so what I'm trying to do right here is just start getting everything wet and soaked and up pretty good. So I'm not too concerned about flow at this moment.
Did you do what Holly did and clear it with water, or did you do what I did and clear it with old tank water, or did you just stick it in the tank?
I cleared it with old water and then put it in the tank. Okay. Not old water, fresh water.
Gotcha. And then, and mine doesn't have this tape or whatever it is around it. Did you put some more holes in it?
That was me. That was me being me. I actually got 2 of those, and I was curious to see the impact of an increased length on the tube. So I used some waterproof tape and taped on another section just to see what it would do.
Gotcha.
I think Robert makes them bigger though. Like if you tell him like you have a 75 gallon or whatever, he does make them longer to adjust for a bigger tank too.
Well, see, this is at a 58 right now, and I was just curious as to how it will work with my air pumps and stuff. It was one of my. It's on my genome. I got to experiment.
And we're showing Cheryl's tips, tricks on tubs and tanks because she has been doing this for so long. She likes to play with stuff. But like, for instance, guys, I don't want to build baffles. Thank you, Salty Reef, for telling me the name baffles. I don't want to have to build a sump or mess with a Robert King chamber. I just want it to work. I'm lazy. You can call me. And we love Cheryl for teaching us. Wait a minute. Let me finish. I was just going to say, Holly's right. If you want a char chamber or Robert King chamber that is going to just be adequate for your tank, he does do custom chambers. So I'll put the link in the description. Contact Robert King. He can make whatever you want. Or if you're like Cheryl, buy one and adjust it. Heck yeah. Go on, Cheryl.
Well, okay. If you notice there's there's PVC pipes behind this and behind the artificial coral. And if you look at them, you can see that there's a screening over holes in the bottom. Yep. What this is an old Oceanic 58-gallon tank that was reef ready. I literally removed the overflow box, put in new bulkheads, put in a 1-inch standpipe, built 2-inch sleeves to function as a grow out tank. So there's no holes that are big enough for any youngsters to get through, but it gives me with the sump about close to 90 gallons.
See, if you want the answers to make it right, you ask Cheryl. When I ask Cheryl, I'm like, how can I do this easier? I don't want to have to build. Oh my gosh. But she's a genius. I mean, this shit is amazing. And yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to, cause Cheryl, I didn't have any more pictures of, we're moving on to tubs now, I think. So was there anything else you wanted to say about Seahorse tanks, or should we move on to tubs?
Let's move on.
Okay. We can always come back and I'll check. Guys, just to let you know, as I'm doing this, in order to do my little beautiful arrow functioning here, I can't see the comments until I jump back to the stream. So if you have made a comment or question, we can jump around as soon as we're done, I promise. But okay, we're moving forward. What are these, Cheryl?
Those are 2 of my nurseries. Years and years ago, Dan talked me into going with tubs. And I initially bought the tubs from Tractor Supply. The problem is they're much narrower and much taller. So it made them very hard to clean without getting sucking fry into the dirty water into the bucket. And so I bought the WLM, they're Coe show bowls. And what I do with these is you can see the returns on there. You can see the little hitches where I drilled holes to make hitches. And actually, the tub on the left is being filled right now. Well, it's not being filled right. It was being filled when this picture was taken. And between the 2 tubs and the sump, I'm running close to 70 gallons on a nursery system.
Wow. Okay, well, real quick before, because we've got more pictures to show, and we'll explain what a standpipe is and all that stuff. But just in this picture, let's talk about what we're looking at. Can you guys see my arrow?
That's the return. Again, there's ball valves, so I can adjust the flow on either side. And what this does is, when you get the flow right for neonatal seahorses, they will literally all orient into the flow and hold steady into the correct flow and snick boot as it passes them by, rather than trying to chase it down and everything else. And they expend a lot less energy and have a much higher survival rate with doing it that way, which is what got me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say we have a picture of that coming. So
okay.
This is a return. It's literally just PVC coming from the tank or the tub, excuse me, into the sump, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then this is coming back into the tub.
No, both of those are returns. The standpipe in the middle of the tank that you
that's right. Sorry.
You should see shortly is where the drain is. Oh, and by the way, the stands that they're on, I built myself also.
Cheryl, you're amazing. We already know that. But so I'm teasing. But so all of these 4 PVC deals are taking water back into the tub. Correct?
Yeah. What it does too is with the ball valves on there, I can get one low flow area, and it'll push the food around rapidly. And then as it gets close to where the seahorses are hanging down, their speed slows, which makes it much easier. I know when it's time to turn up the water volume because I use different types of, well, you'll see them in a bit. But anyway, seahorses will swim around and hitch to them when the flow they start getting a little too big for the flow. They'll hitch the lock line, the returns.
And what are these colorful little chains?
Those are just that. They are the little plastic
zip ties.
Is it zip ties? Yeah.
Zip ties.
And I just make them in different colors and stuff. Some seahorses like different colors. And the thing is, I drilled holes because I can take them out. It takes me a matter of seconds. Throw them into vinegar, get them completely cleaned, rinse them, sterilize them, and then I reuse them. And
so when you said the holes, you mean like this zip tie chain? There's a hole right here.
There's a hole in the
kind of
top.
Zip ties to itself. Okay.
If you look on the other next one next to it, you can see the bottom of the holdfasts that are going through the hole.
Yeah, she drilled holes in the rim, right? You drilled holes in the rim of the koi tubs to fasten those onto.
I love it. And sorry, I'm getting notifications here. So what is the airline for?
Oh, that's not an airline.
Here for?
That's my RODI filling up the tub.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought this was not a pump.
That is an air pump there.
Pump. Yeah, what's that for?
Because you should be seeing another picture come up. That is for the airline that runs through across the surface of the nurseries.
Okay.
It not only aerates, but also helps with the flow.
Okay, and what's this airline?
That's the RODI.
RODI, sorry. Okay,
I don't call RODI. Yeah, okay. The thing on the left that you're sitting there, that's a modification of what Dan built. The one, no, slightly to the right, the skinny one. There, that's a modification of what that Dan built. That's the surface airline that creates surface agitation.
Oh, I love it. Yes, I forget what he calls it, but I have him in my tank, and this is a really great modification. Tell me why it's a great modification. I can see it, but tell us.
It works.
So so where does the airline go?
Oh, there's a hole on the here. Oh, okay, on the back, higher up, a little higher up. No, down. No, there, right there. There's a hole right there that the airline plugs into, and you just push it in, and it'll hold itself in place, and then you have air running across the surface of the tank.
Because basically the airline is causing these two to pull water from the bottom and then push it back up into the top. And even if fry got caught in that, they're just going to have a little super slide. They're going to have, I mean, that's how it works. They get a super slide and they just get shot out and they're like, oh, I want to do that again, probably because it's fun. And they don't get hurt.
Yeah, I rarely have ever found any fry in that. The thing is, it's one of those things that they tend to stay away because it's a little too much flow for them.
Well, and the fry usually stay up here. But anyways, go on. Sorry. But yeah, no, this is really cool. I love it. And this also not only like it's circulating the water instead of a pump that could hurt the fry, it's pulling water from the bottom where there might be detritus or whatever, which not in your tubs, but there might, just making sure the water is circulating without a pump. It's pulling it up and pushing it out at the surface and also creating surface agitation. I love it. And sorry, I don't mean to. And what's this?
That's before I added. I switched all those out with a lock line.
Okay.
Those used to be the returns, and I got myself a set of lock line pliers finally after battling with this stuff for a long time. And once I finally figured out how to use them and not shoot pieces across the house, the lock line is very easy to work with.
And these are obviously even closer pictures of the drilled holes that hold your little beautiful chains.
And see, those are little
And
things that you slip on and off to make the chains on and off of. Yeah. And just, I try to keep things simple.
And this is the standpipe, and I'm not going to ask you questions yet because we have better pictures. But just to let you know,
that's
this
actually
is
the sleeve. That's the sleeve. The sleeve is the
You're
outer.
right. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. Sorry. Go ahead. Correct me. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No. I misspoke. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, there's some better pictures of it in here.
But this, you're right. This is not the standpipe. This standpipe is within this. This
Exactly.
is the sleeve. And she'll describe what these holes are, why they're there, what's covering them, and why they're over what we call a standpipe. Okay. Let me see. I hope that's the next picture. It's not. This is from our video that we made.
This is the sleeve, the outer sleeve.
And she'll explain what that means. And
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
This is one of the first ones I built. Since then, I've added 2 layers of piping to that and have double holes, which slows the flow out of each hole, reduces the potential for any fry to get stuck against it, and also does a better job of cleanup.
Absolutely, and you can describe that when we get there. I think that's a repeat picture. So this is the sleeve. Tell me more about the sleeve.
Okay.
Like, what are these holes? Why are they there? And what covers them? What's this covering that's on it? Why is there a zip tie? Tell me all about it.
Okay, well, basically, the holes are for your filtration. For neonatal fry, I use 670 micron mesh, and I have some that actually have as big as window screen on them also. So I have different sizes of mesh depending on what size the fry are. I have 2 rows of holes, and that's what drains the tank, goes down the standpipe that's in the center. I am using 2-inch PVC on the outside for the sleeves and a 1-inch bulkhead and 1-inch standpipe on the interior for the drain.
And so I think I did a poor job because I just messed up and said it was the standpipe. So let's just be clear. When she says sleeve, basically, as she just described, I'm just repeating it for people like me that are like, wait, what'd you just say? So basically, there's a hole in the tub. And in the hole in the tub, there is a piece of PVC that did you say 1 inch? Is your standpipe 1 inch, Cheryl? So there's a piece of PVC that's 1 inch that comes up to about here, right?
Correct.
And then the sleeve is a piece of 2-inch PVC that literally sits over this 1-inch PVC that goes down into the sump. And the sleeve has holes in it, as she described, then the screen, then the PVC to keep it in place, or not PVC, the zip ties to keep it in place. So the water,
now the zip tie is there
here from the bottom.
Yeah,
sorry.
Hold on. The zip tie is there because I will actually, particularly when they're very tiny, sometimes they have a tendency to get stuck against the drain system. And I can slip in some solid rigid airline tubes. Just a little bit of bubble is all it takes, and I can totally eliminate that problem.
Gotcha. But I was just trying to describe, because I had a hard time understanding the standpipe thing and the sleeve in the beginning. So basically, this is the middle of the tub. You saw the returns in the last few, the returns in the last few pictures. So that the water's coming out of the tub into the sump through the returns. The way it gets in is, I'm sorry, I'm saying it opposite. But basically, the water comes through here, and then there's this 1-inch PVC within this. I'm not doing very well, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but
the 1-inch PVC is the drain.
Will come up here, and then it goes down the 1-inch PVC.
Correct.
There you go. Okay. I kind of messed that up, but I hope that made sense because it was so hard for me to grasp and concept.
Well,
and what's this, Cheryl?
Here's a picture of it. Yeah.
There is the outer sleeve. This doesn't have any mesh on it yet. And if you look at the bottom, toward the bottom of the picture, you can see the 1-inch drain or standpipe.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to let Holly back in.
I was going to say something happened. Don't hear it on my end.
So this is the sleeve that's sitting when you have a tub. It's just going to sit on the bottom of the tub. Then you have the standpipe in the middle the sleeve, you can see the standpipe right there. It's in the middle. And then you've got a, what the hell are those called? I forget. What's the damn thing that's connect things, you guys? Bulkheads, thank you. I'm not doing very well tonight. And then this goes into the sump, correct?
Correct.
There you go. All right. So I suck at explaining things, but Cheryl had to walk me through this 50 times before I could set up my tubs. I can just tell you that. But it's not that hard. Once you get it, you figure it out. And then she covers those holes, and now she uses double rows of holes with screen, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Now I got to go back to here. And what's this showing?
Well, I wanted you to see these. This was some brand new bouncing baby seahorses. I just collected them out of the adult tank and it was just getting started. What I wanted you to look at here, the whole darn lot of them, minus I think one, were already orienting into the flow in the nursery.
Yep. They're all facing that way.
Yep. And it was kind of funny because Dan and I were talking one day and I was saying, yeah, they're all facing the same direction because the food's coming at them from that direction. And he goes, I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah. Look at that guy getting ready to snick. I can feel it.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I want to see. I want to see them being able to hold their position in the water column, not chasing down food, but snicking food as it's coming to them. Because,
and I think
it's not as critical in erectus because they do hitch. But when you're dealing with engines or combs, which are much smaller, they sometimes don't hitch for at least 3 weeks after birth. You're going to lose a lot if you don't have the system set up right for them. And all it does is just
so you just said erectus will hitch. Do you, in these tubs, do you usually have like artificial hitches for them? I know the little things along the side, but do you like throw in fake Gorgonians or do you just use the hitches along the side?
I have some little flexible plant thingies with suction cups on them that I put with erectus. I'll put them in as soon as they're born. With combs, it's a waste of time to do it right away because they're not going to be hitching for a while. So
right.
Yeah, but yeah, I do. I have some other miscellaneous cute little things for them.
And I'm going to go back up really fast just to say that when we're looking at this, the reason, because we talked about the circular flow and how the flow comes in this way and it comes circular and then it goes down the drain pipe or down the sleeve, up the sleeve, sorry, down the drain pipe. And that's how it works. That's how it's circular is because you're making it circular, right?
Exactly.
You're making it, you're angling it circular.
The beauty of this system also is it partially self-cleaning because of the circular flow. It's constantly flushing detritus out of the system.
Gotcha. I think I forgot to ask you about that, so I wanted to make it clear. What do we got next? What's this guy telling us?
This is a 9-day-old tiger tail seahorse. And I was taking pictures one day, and somehow I managed to get in one picture the seahorse trying to snick and also moving back to normal. Don't ask me how. I could never do it again if I tried.
Here's my question. Is this
he moved faster than the speed of the camera was what it was.
I know.
I minored in photography. So yeah, I know how that happened. But
yeah, I know how it happens. I was just absolutely astounded to think of how fast that seahorse did that.
That's amazing. I mean, look, you can see the little seahorse. You can see his millisecond snick.
You can see even see him pooping.
Look at the food. Yeah. I was going to ask, is that pooping? Is that poop? Yep. So we got food and poop. All right. And it doesn't look alive. So good job, Cheryl. All right. And next, we can go back, guys, with any questions. But what's this guy? What are we showing?
This is Daddy.
Daddy.
Daddy. Oh. This is the dad. This is a hippocampus combs male. I did something I never normally do. I bought him and his female from a local fish store. I walked in one day. I knew the people there. I took one look at them. They were selling them as black seahorses. for $30 each. I already knew I was looking at combs, and they were both emaciated. He looked like something. I did not expect him to survive. I spent 6 months, over $300 just on mice and shrimp alone to put them through the long-term 9 weeks of determinant, 9 weeks of deworming. And also, the only thing that saved me with this pair was the fact that they were willing to take frozen. And it may have just been that they were so starving, it was better than nothing. And with this pair, I jumped out of bed every morning before we were running in to see if they were still alive.
Oh.
And
well,
this is him a little over a year after I got him.
He's not only gorgeous, but do you think that the artificial coral behind him helped him like color up, or do you think it was just your care, or what do you think made you save him?
Well, the thing is, when he's pregnant, he stays much darker. When he's courting or getting, you can see he's inflating his pouch somewhat. He lightens up. The females typically, when they're really nice and healthy and in good shape, either turn white with yellow spots, pretty much turn white with yellow spots most of the time. And his mate, well, she's in my profile picture. She's the yellow spotted female. That's his mate. And they were sold as black seahorses.
Incredible. I mean, obviously you just know what you're doing and know how to care for seahorses. But I mean, you did get very lucky that they hopped on frozen foods.
I got lucky that they came through because I really didn't expect them to. But I also got lucky because combs were extremely hard to come by. And the thing is, back then, we were using, I knew that they would be infested with Uronema. And I knew that that would kill them if I didn't get it treated. And I spent, I don't remember how much time and money with chloroquine phosphate. Now that, of course, now they're telling everybody use Metro, don't use chloroquine phosphate. And I lost some, all but one, a beautiful brood of combs, young cubs, for following the recommended dosage of treating them for Uronema. And I found this pair, when I treated them, I gave them, based on a friend of mine who's a human pathologist who did the diagnostic work, he said, cut back, increase the dosage slowly, because you're getting a protein buildup in their gill structure, and that's probably what's killing them. So I switched up my protocol with this pair and some others, and started off at a 25% dose, waited 2 days, increased it to 50%, and so on. And believe it or not, I didn't have a single loss after I did that.
Well, while we obviously recommend always buying captive bred, if you see a pair of combs and you're very good at this and have been doing this for a while, so do you have somewhere written up your chloroquine phosphate recommendation, or do you now recommend Metro?
I would now go with Metro.
Okay.
However, if somebody wanted to, I did publish it in seahorse.org under propagation and rearing.
There you go. All right. Well, he's so gorgeous. I just can't even say anything because he's so gorgeous. Holly, Ray, any other thoughts, comments on that?
I am interested in when you're doing the sleeve over the standpipe. I have some questions about that.
Okay, well, wait. Before we go, we'll go to that, I promise. But Cheryl, was there anything you wanted to say about this final picture? And then we'll go back to questions, because I can't do two things at once, you guys. I'm sorry. So let's get through the final picture. Cheryl, why are we showing this picture?
That is my grout tank that I took the overflow box out of. That's drilled, and I used the 2 holes that were drilled for drains, and I have a separate system coming in for returns. And what it does is it gives me a nice big area with really good flow or grow out. And there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's at least 5 seahorses visible in this picture, if you look right.
There's 10. 1, 2. I see one back there. 3, 4. I see one right there. 5. Heck yeah, go on.
But anyway, it was just a picture because most people don't even think of ripping out overflow boxes and replumbing drilled tanks. Well, like I said, I like to tinker.
Right.
And I love this system because I can run high flow in this system because I've got enough filtration to handle the system. And at the same time, I've got, it's bare bottom. It takes me less than 5 minutes a day to completely clean it.
So it's a bare bottom tank with artificial coral that still looks beautiful. And instead of using your typical as it comes, you used standpipes with sleeves and then returns. And then do you use any power heads in these tanks, or is the returns enough?
I run 2 cc. CC. Yes, 2 cc power heads, one in the front left corner and one in the back rear corner. And what I do is I got to move stuff around, break the flow a little bit when I get ready to clean it. And what it does is it blows anything left over into the right back corner of the tank.
And then you can clean. And also with this situation, like for instance, in my 90 gallon, the it's not an overflow. What's it called? The little slated part where the water goes down into the sump. I'm so bad at this, you guys.
Just the
what is that
overflow
called?
Box. It's the
but in a drill tank.
I know what you mean. Your water goes out through the top, not the bottom, is what you're saying, right?
Yes, and what I'm saying is, it's not an overflow box like it's a drilled tank, but it's still the water's going. And even in my 40-gallon all-in-one, the water goes back to the back from the top, and it's like all the crap is at the bottom. So Cheryl's little tinkering is really great because now all the crap's going through here. And going through here and going through here instead of at the top of the tank. I wish I was inventive and had more time and had more energy to do this shit because it's really cool.
This tank was set up to be predominantly self-cleaning, where most everything with very little effort ends up in the filter sock. So the worst thing I have to do is change the filter sock.
And does this system, now we're going to go back to Holly's question, and I'm going to actually check the questions in the comments, but does this system run on a sump kind of like this? Not this one, but kind of like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same principle.
Yep, I love it. Okay, Holly, you ask your questions about the standpipe.
So basically my question is about the standpipe and the sleeve, because I'm not that familiar with plumbing parts and sizes. So the pipe itself, the PVC pipe that you use for the standpipe, you said is a 1 inch. And the sleeve that fits over it is a 2 inch, right?
Right. But what you need with that.
My question is, when you have the 2 inch going over the 1 inch, isn't there a gap on the top of it between the 2 inch and the 1 inch where things could fit down in?
Yes.
And is that what you're using the zip tie to block, or how do you block that?
What I'm doing is basically I take a 2 inch coupler, which has the one with the holes in it. I use PVC glue to glue it onto the bulkhead.
Okay.
Then I fill the area where I have that coupler. It fits basically the big.
Seal it, right? You seal it with a silicone or something.
Then I fill it with a silicone. Exactly.
Gotcha. That's what I was wondering. Yeah. Well, so basically, though, then that means like the standpipe and the sleeve are fixed together with that silicone.
No. No. And I just want to say, I apologize, you guys. I didn't realize that our faces are covering half the picture. I'm not sure how to fix that. Of course, you can always contact Cheryl. She will share her pictures and her information. I don't know. Ray, I'm trying to scroll it up. I'm trying, but I don't know how. But go on, Cheryl.
So you did
that
scroll
was
it up
kind
there for a
of what I
minute.
was wanting to see was the bottom, how you fill the gap between the two.
Okay, I use a ring. I cut small, about no more than inch high rings out of the 2-inch PVC. That is then glued down using PVC glue onto the bulkhead. Then what I do to reinforce it, I think he may have it. Then what I do to reinforce it is I fill that round circular small piece with
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying to pull it up.
Sealant, right?
I'm getting distracted. With
That's
silicone.
okay. It's a silicone sealant, basically.
Okay. So what
Like
happens is the part with the hole, and it fits down over the round holder that I glued and filled to the bulkhead. So the sleeve comes out readily.
Yeah, that's so you can interchange the sleeve with different size of mesh. See, I wish I could see that more detail.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, I see. Okay, so you have the 1 inch in the middle, the lower
Here's
part,
the one.
and then the 2
The 1 inch goes all the way through, right?
Yes, and the 2 inch is glued or secured to the top of that, and then your sleeve goes over that part.
That's actually permanent.
Right?
That's permanent.
Wait. I think we're saying it wrong because the 1 inch standpipe is glued to this thing that goes in.
Bulkhead.
But the sleeve is not glued anywhere. It just sits.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Well,
it is.
yeah,
you glue your sleeve
underneath the bottom portion next to the bulkhead is where I put that 1 inch wide round piece that's the same size as the pipe higher up. So what happens is the piece with the holes in it fits over that and is held in place by that 1 inch piece that's attached to the bulkhead.
No. So what you're saying is, wait, time out, because I want to make sure, because I've been doing this too, and I don't understand. So you're saying it's glued right here. Whoops. It's glued right here.
That's
right?
PVC glue, yes.
Okay, but it's not glued right here. The sleeve is not glued anywhere to the standpipe. It just fits over it.
Correct. But it doesn't fit over the standpipe.
Okay.
That's where I have to put the little 1 inch piece in there.
Then you put a piece over that, right?
Exactly.
A piece with the mesh goes over that.
Yeah.
And you can change out so that's movable, so you can have different sizes of mesh, and it fits over this. Okay, that's what I was wanting to see, the details of that.
They're really easy to, after you've made a few, the most time that I spend when I do these things anymore is waiting for them to dry. I mean, literally.
Yeah, well, one of us needs to do a video, which could be me, although I suck at getting them published. But anybody who does this, do a video and share it, because I just think that when we get to talking, it gets confusing, because I got confused because I thought you were saying that the sleeve was somehow connected down here, and it's not. It just fits over it, but it is connected. Mm-hmm. The bigger size that fits down in, that has the holes with the mesh over it, is definitely connected to this, but nothing's connected to the standpipe. This just you literally place it over. You throw it over.
If you look closely at this, you can actually see there's some kind of little rubbed areas in there, little lumpy areas. That's the silicone that's inside the round 1 inch piece that's helping to hold in place. And it not only
right here
strengthen it, it also, because I add some more silicone around the bottom, make sure I don't have any holes any place where any fry could get stuck
in. Slip down. Yeah. I see.
But they don't get through any. They don't get through anyways because she covers this with window screen or
Because
mesh.
it's got
So
that
the
other
fryer swimming
piece
around.
that fits over that is the one with the mesh. And that's what I was wanting to know, was to see the details of it, you know, how many pieces is actually together to make it to where those are interchangeable. The sleeves, you know,
and I think
different mesh sizes as they're growing bigger, it'll let more of the detritus through, but not let them through. So
yeah,
I
would say that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the thing is, if you go into Dan's group, I've actually got a presentation there walking through each step of the way on how to build these and how to set up the tanks, including using a log line flyers so you don't shoot things around your living room.
Yeah, those could come
Well,
in handy.
I will share. I will share that and I'll screen share it in just a second, your file, because you told me that before we started. But I would just say that in my case, for some reason, and I love this concept, and that's probably why I got confused, is because I didn't have this extra piece. My holes were directly in the sleeve.
And then you put the other thing over it. Yeah.
You're not going to
No,
get
I mean, I just
it that way. It will not give you
why?
Because basically when they're in the sleeve, they're not having less pressure put on them as the water flow volume increases, and so it's going to actually slow your flow.
Wait, so are you saying that adding this piece right here, just this piece to the sleeve creates a vacuum effect or something?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, it does, because it's sucking water out to go down the standpipe. So you don't.
No, I know, but what I'm trying to say is your sleeve right here, right? You have a second piece. My sleeve, I didn't have a second piece. My holes were in the sleeve. I didn't have the second piece. So does this second piece create a vacuum?
Yes.
Or why is there a second piece? Okay.
It reduces the draw of the vacuum so that people are less likely to get drawn against the screen. In my case, I went even bigger. Mine are 4-inch diameter, the bottom on the stand or the bottom of the sleeve.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, see, my tubs weren't even effective. Shit. No, I mean, they worked, but this is an improvement.
That's why I kind of want to see the detail. So the pipe in the middle, the 1-inch that we call the standpipe, does that fit tightly into the bulkhead then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing to mention is that it needs to be like only to here. Or Cheryl, you tell us, but it can't be this high. It has to be lower so that the water
has to get in it to go down.
Come up.
So it depends on the level you want in the container.
Okay, explain, Ray.
Exactly. You want the maximum height of this below the overflow level of the nursery tub. And I usually give it about at least an inch of space. So even if it starts to back up, I've still got wiggle room before it would overflow and onto the floor. So I've got
Cheryl, you're saying that the sleeve itself needs to be an inch below the actual size of the tub.
Yes.
And I'm asking, and Ray, I want you to answer this one. How low does the standpipe need to be?
Yeah, where is it in there?
It's the standpipe that
I mean, the sleeve must be.
I call overflow pipe. That's the standpipe to me. The sleeve to me is not a standpipe.
Okay.
Yeah, so the standpipe.
You regulate the flow of the water in the container by having that standpipe cut off at the right height so that it won't just keep on going up and increase the water level till it runs over the tub. And
right, but the sleeve.
If you have it too low, then the water level won't get up to a high enough place.
So how far is the
hang on. Right, so the sleeve needs to just be below the water level, period.
No,
but the standpipe, go ahead.
The sleeve is the outer part.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you want
So
that
you're
higher than the standpipe, which is regulating the water level. The
But they
sleeve
both
has
have to
nothing
be.
do with the water level.
Yeah, well, but it does. It has to be lower than the water level.
Hang on a sec. Ray, so are you saying that the standpipe ends at where you want the water level to be?
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Okay, but my question is, the sleeve still has to be lower, does it not?
No, you want it
Higher.
higher than
You
want it higher than the standpipe.
Yeah. You want the
Of
sleeve
course, I
higher.
meant the
You
water
had it
level.
lower,
Okay,
and
never mind.
everything
All
would
right.
just go over the top of the stand, or over the top of the sleeve, and nothing would come in from the bottom through the screened portion.
Exactly.
No, I agree with you. So water comes in here. Standpipe must be lower than the water level of the tub. And I think I'm just asking the question wrong. It's fine.
No,
So are you
the
guys
standpipe
saying
has to
that
be
the
the
sleeve?
same as your water level.
The
It can't be lower.
standpipe is going to dictate your water level because the water is going to go down at that level.
Exactly.
And
So you
right.
want
All
the
I'm asking,
standpipe as high as the water level you want in it, and then you want the sleeve going over it to be taller.
Yes.
right.
Right.
And my question was, you want the standpipe to dictate the water level, which has to be lower than the tub so that
Right.
it does not overflow. And then the sleeve, all I'm asking is just for future reference, can the sleeve stick up out over the tub, way over, if you wanted
Oh,
to?
you could have
No.
it a foot higher if you want.
Okay,
What's
that's what
the
I wanted to
point of
know.
that, though? Because the water's never going to get higher than the top of the tub. It's going to be spilling out over the sides first,
That's
Well,
just wasted
Right, right.
material.
I was just asking.
right?
I build the outer
No, I
sleeve
agree with all.
shorter than the
We're all
tub.
talking at the same. Sorry, go ahead, Cheryl.
I build the outer sleeve shorter than the tank. That way, if something gets plugged up down low, I'm still going to drain into the sump without overflowing onto my floor.
That's kind of what I was getting at. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I
Or
made it all confusing.
If
But
it's
that's kind
longer,
of
you
what I
can
was
just
getting
drill a couple holes at the line that you want for the
at. True.
emergency.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. I just that's what I was sorry if I made it all confusing. I think you guys made it clear. I wasn't trying to be confusing. I was just saying in my case I made the sleeve lower just so in case, but the standpipe it does need to dictate your water level, needs to be below the level of the tub. I think we got it. Sorry.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. And I have
Any other-
another question if that question's
ma'am.
answered, if everyone understands
ma'am.
that. So my next question is about the
Wait a
fry
minute.
tub.
Wait a minute. One minute. No, nobody's asked me about my beautiful stand that I was building for this.
Okay, Cheryl, tell us about the stand.
It is beautiful.
Kidding. It's a joke.
Oh, I was gonna
Well,
go
you
to the
use
stand
nice
too.
new clean wood, it looks like. So it is beautiful compared to some of the wood I see laying around here. So I'll give you that.
That stand is
But
beautiful.
my question is about the fry tubs because I have, like, for instance, in my experience, I have had seahorses where they were young. It was their early batches, so not very many and not very healthy. So about what number of fry would you say would it be worth it to put them in a tub? Like if my seahorse only has like 10 or 20 babies, I don't see this being worth it to put them into that system.
Yeah.
There's no set amount, but if you got 50 or more, then I'd use a tub for sure.
So 50 or so. Okay.
I mean, I've used these tubs with roughly 200 baby seahorses in a tub.
Yeah.
I mean, they work very well, but I've also got a much larger, with my 70-gallon water volume. I've got a lot higher water volume than most people.
But see, that's what I can see when I have a ton of fry. That's great.
Yeah.
But if I don't see putting like 10 fry that probably won't make it in there, you know.
It's not worth it.
So I like Ray's answer. I like if you got 50, put them in there and it's worth it. But you know, if you've got like a really super small batch, I can see not bothering with the tubs.
Well, and frankly, most people don't have super small batches. I've experienced it now too, Holly. So I get it.
Yeah, I mean that's just been my experience, but
90% of the time you get a Seahorse batch, it's going to be at least 200. I mean that's typical. I'm curious what Heather thinks, if Heather's still here, because she doesn't use tubs and she is very successful. So there are other ways to do this. This is just the most efficient. And I apologize everyone that the pictures, I didn't realize that our faces were showing over the pictures. Thank you, Ray, for pointing that out. Don't worry, you can see all the pictures in detail if you contact Cheryl. But go ahead, Ray. What were you going to say? Wait, hang on. What was Ray going to say?
For what it's worth, Holly, my first Seahorse fry that I raised were reed-eye, and I raised them in 12 4-liter wide mouth jars.
Yeah.
And
remember,
as they got bigger, well, I didn't use all the jars to start with. I'd maybe have 100, 150 to a jar, but as they get bigger, then I would get them down to there was only 50 in a jar. So 4 liters was enough to sustain 50.
For that many, yeah.
And then eventually down to 25 in a jar. And then my next stage, then when there's only 25 in a jar, then I moved to aquariums after that. So you don't have to have all this stuff. And for me, I was starting off with reed-eye, which are a little bit more difficult than the rectus.
They would be tougher, yeah, because they don't hitch for a while, right? Like a few weeks or so.
Well, I would always have some that would start after about a week, but the last ones would be 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. That'd be a lot harder.
They don't all start to hit at the same time.
I'm pushing up the picture. I'm pushing up the pictures just so we have a history of it. But I wanted to show this is Cheryl's beautiful stand because you probably didn't see it because our faces were covering it. So go on, Cheryl.
Well, first of all, I was going to say I have actually posted with photographs of all the equipment, saw blades, drills, everything needed, and how to build one of these in Dan's group. It's in the files section.
Yep, I'm going to go show that in a minute.
That's one thing. The other thing to keep in mind is when you've got 2 tubs plumbed into each other, one of the beauties of them is if you have a large group of fry, and you always get some fry that are a lot bigger and more aggressive than others, having the second tub plugged into the same system, I can move the bigger ones to the other tub. It also gives me the availability to take a tub offline if for some reason it gets really scummy. I can take it offline, and I still can keeping them in the same water they've been in all along. So there's no shocking them with changes. And I've, on occasion, had several hundred in one side when they were little, moved 25%, the biggest 25 to the next tub. By the time the next round was ready, next 25 got big enough, the first 25 were going into the grow out tank. So it gives me a lot of flexibility to move them into appropriate places.
Cheryl, I'm just showing in Seahorses group where you said it's in here, and what's it called? Do you know?
I think it may have been under the master file.
I don't know what you mean by the master file.
It was.
You see it right here?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do I do now?
No.
Oh, there we go. You scroll down till you see.
No, I don't think that's it.
Mates. Well, I know when Cheryl sent me directions, you sent me the.
Oh wait, Seahorse fry nursery tub.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so I think it's just gonna let me download it. Is what's You have to download it, but let's see if I can
Then you
download
can
it.
look at it.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't even know if I have Word on this computer. All right, so just to show you guys, let me stop sharing there.
I have it printed out.
Here you go. So this is what you'd get if you decided to download that file, and it's got pictures.
Those are just the tubs before you do anything. That's the drill bit in the that you need to drill for the bulkhead.
And yep, and the bulkhead going into it. I mean, this is detailed. This is perfect.
I tried to put in a lot of pictures. Okay, here, this
great.
That's going to be the drain there, the pipe that I just added. Yeah.
So the tub is right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It isn't plumbed in yet.
Yeah, she's using
going
it as a
in.
bed.
See, we should have had this for Wine Wednesday, damn it. But anyways, there's the standpipe going into the middle of the tub. The outer covering, right?
Now you see where the
Yeah, you do have it, Kelly. You're showing it now. You do have it. See?
Yep.
That's
outer sleeve PVC ring.
You use a PVC cutter. Do yourself a favor. You can pick them up for $7 or $8 at Home Depot, and they make a huge difference when you're trying to cut 1-inch PVC. I use a circular.
I just have
2-inch, but
sorry. I have a quick question about. So you're saying, because I think that's where I got confused. You're saying this outer ring that you have the holes in and that the screen is on. Is that glued to the tub?
That's the holder for the sleeve. That's
and
what
the holes are in that.
No. There's
okay.
No holes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I was like, how would you ever clean the sleeve? I mean, how would you ever clean the holes or the window screen? I'm sorry.
Well, this is just the holding device.
Okay. I got it. And then you're showing it, and that's the sleeve.
Yeah.
Great. And then the returns. Woo! That is fantastic. This is a fantastic document. Anyone that wants to build tubs needs to download this document.
Yeah.
Faux show.
Okay, there's the drain.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to illustrate the pieces that you need to go so you can take a picture to Home Depot and say, I need this.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
That's
it.
Yeah. I should have showed that to begin with, darn it. But anyways, that's
my
awesome.
early tubs. If you notice too that one sleeve has window screen, because I was running short on tank and I needed more flow, so I opted and added window screen and took out the smaller micron mesh ones.
So what did you say you use now instead? Instead of window screen.
Oh, no, I used window screen on it because the Seahorses were getting so large and I didn't have enough room for them in the other tank. I increased their filtration by moving from a small micron mesh to much larger holes in the outer sleeve.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
It's a very flexible system.
I found when my fry were getting to be juveniles and they were getting big, I found a mesh. Actually, at my Ace Hardware store, they have a window screen department, and they had this plastic screen that's designed for dog doors.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I love that stuff. I bought a little roll of it. And it's super flexible and really tough. And it was just perfect for them at that age.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I used too. That's what I used too. But I was curious because when I was looking at them, the dog window screen stuff, some of them were treated. And I was like, treated with what?
Yeah. You have to be careful always when you're shopping for stuff to figure out what it's made out of and, to make sure it'll be safe for them. Because, stuff comes in all kinds of ways. The screen is made of all different kinds of materials these days. So you just want to make sure and get what's safe for them, not get anything with metal in it or treated, like you said, or,
My favorite pastime is rolling into Home Depot. And I've got a list this long. I mean, this as wide as I am, parts that I need, because I always make a list of exactly what I need. And somebody will come up that works there and says, "Can I help you?" And I'll be, do you? And they're looking at me like, "What are you making?"
No, some things you need are hard to find. What was that thing we had? It was a Y, a plumbing Y, that we needed in order to make my overflow boxes work with my sump on the grow out tank. And they didn't sell it in any of the plumbing departments at any store we went to around here. And it was even scarce online. I had a hard time finding this part, and you would think it's something common to find, but they have it in all kinds of different ways, like straight with one coming off, and but they didn't have one that was a split like YY shape. It took forever to find one of those. I couldn't believe such a thing was. I even went to a boat place was where I ended up finding out where to get it. Because he knew what they were. And he says, they're used in bilge for a boat. He says, but I don't have any that size. Theirs was giant. But he directed me, he says, on where a plumbing supply for boats is what you want to look at for that specific part. And I did finally find them. But I had to leave plumbing altogether and go look at boat stuff in order to find it.
See, that's one of the problems that I run into when I start needing pieces. It's not bad anymore because I'm used to it. But it used to be when I would try to find stuff, I knew what I needed. I knew it was there, but I didn't have the right name.
Yeah, and they don't know what you're talking about. There's that.
But they had no idea what I was looking for. And I always crack them up because I'll come in and I'll pick up a piece of PVC and I'll stick something on the end, and then I'll screw something else in, and then I'll work on the other end. And I just need another one of these.
I need this. They're like, well, you just made it.
And then they'll look at you like, what are you building? Oh, a nursery tub for seahorses. I raise seahorses. And they're like, Yeah, I wouldn't have believed you if I hadn't seen all that weird stuff you're buying.
That's why cell phones are great now. You can take pictures of stuff and bring it with you to the hardware store and say, I need something that does this. I need a piece to do this with my tank.
So the thing is, what you don't, oftentimes, I'm always changing and trying to improve on what I'm doing. So each time I go in, I try something new. And most of the time I'm pretty lucky. Not always, but most of the time. But
Ray's got to go. He's had food in the oven for too long. He's got to go check it. So we appreciate you coming, Ray. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Ray.
And
good night, Ray.
Guys, we did a pretty good job. I should have just showed the document on Seahorses group. Shoot, skip all that. We should just showed that for the tubs because that was amazing. But any other things we got to cover? Because I am going to have to end it very quickly. We've been going 2 hours. So I love talking to you guys all night. I'll be here for the after
really.
party,
We were going to talk about the freshwater dips, I remember, but that can be done another week.
Well, if you want to have a chat, what were we to discuss?
Huh?
Actually, let's do it another week because if I was supposed to do something, I didn't. So
no, we were going to compare because we had videos of a seahorse reacting and not reacting. Because remember, I dipped Candy, and Candy came through with flying colors. I guess she was clean. And then you had
I have a Seahorse.
one
It
of
was not.
one with
No, right.
Cillian. And I think Heather has one too, because she posted one too, one of her Seahorses reacting a little bit. But
to get with Heather, because I was actually going to do a video out of it. I wasn't going to do it on Wine Wednesday, but we can. I mean, that's no problem.
I can pretend to be a seahorse with Cillian.
yeah.
Yeah. Go nuts. Heather, get with me. I need your video. But yeah, we can definitely talk about it next week. And I am going to post as soon as we're done the question, the post where I want your questions for Ask Seahorse Source Part 4, because he's going to cover Artemia, Fry, that kind of stuff. But if you have, it'll probably be the final Ask Seahorse Source. So if you have any questions for Dan, he comes once in a while, but this will be specific to him. And we haven't named a date yet, but with the post, you can post your questions and they'll get answered when he comes. So definitely pay attention to that post.
Okay.
And Cheryl, I appreciate you.
When are you coming back and starting to raise seahorses again? Don't give me any yes. I need the answer now.
I know. But we appreciate, Cheryl, you coming tonight and sharing your tanks and your tub tricks and just sharing what's worked for you. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I hope it helps some people, because I know a lot of people really love their seahorses. They really want to do better by them. But I think a lot of people are intimidated by how much stuff is out there. And this is why I put the thing about building a nursery tub together, because I was trying to make it. It's not hard. I can, other than waiting for glue to dry, it takes me maybe an hour to put the whole thing together.
Yeah. No, you show the way to be successful. And just to be devil's advocate here, you can, as Ray said, he raised reed-eye in jars. I mean, you can do it. It's just a lot more work. If you want it to be simple, follow Cheryl's thing on Seahorse Source in the file section, Seahorse Sources group in the file section, because it will really literally spell out how you can compete with literally a commercial breeder if you wanted to by setting up those tubs. But you can also set up seahorse tanks natural and do tubs different. But I'm just saying, she's showing the best way, but you can always do it your way. We should have somebody on that's, really, well, we have, but we should have more people on that are doing it successfully that don't go to those lengths. But Cheryl, your methods are easy. So, I mean, it's not hard as long as you're willing to set them up,
My thing is keep it simple, stupid. In other words, do it. I know what works for me. I know that I can cut my cleanup time from 30 to 45 minutes at a time to 5 minutes to clean a nursery. And it's one of those things, if a nursery gets dirty, all I have to do, drain it, clean it, pop it back in and refill it. And I'm back, and that might take me 30, 45 minutes. The tubs are easy. They're lightweight. I can carry them outside with one hand to clean them. I don't have to lug a tank around. And
they're lightweight, I'll say, but they're pretty darn big. I have one, and I can't fit them really in.
See, wait, what size was your tub, Holly? Because my tubs were 20 gallons each. Well, 30 maybe.
That's about mine. I think it's an 18. So it's close to 4 feet across. I want to say 3 feet, probably. 3 feet.
Mine wasn't. Mine weren't.
I can grab it. I'll show it to you.
Right here. Show it to us, because mine were like maybe this wide. Maybe 2.5. We'll wait on Holly, but yeah, no, I mean, everybody does it different.
A bunch of stuff right now, but here it is.
Yeah, that's 4 foot across.
It shakes up.
Is there a stamp on it? Who made it?
Mm-hmm. But I probably can't see it because it's too dark in here.
Well, it'd be on the side.
Yeah, it's the one I think you told me to get. Oh, here it is. Matala. 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 M-A-T-A-L-A.
Oh, I know who it is. Okay. Yeah.
So it's what, 20, little over 20 gallon, I guess it looks
Yeah.
like.
It's about the
22
same size as mine.
I didn't realize it was 4 foot. I guess I'm not good at measuring.
It's not.
No, it's not. It's probably 2, but still, like in my place.
Yeah. No,
I don't
I
have
know.
anywhere in my house big enough really to set up more than one. I could probably fit one.
Yeah, the thing
Well,
is,
that's why
yeah. The thing is, these things are so easy to build after you've done a couple of them. I always get nervous when I'm doing the first two.
And your point is good, and your information is great. For someone like Heather with a sea shed, man, that's instructions one by one. But for someone like Holly or me that doesn't have the space, sometimes you have to figure out something else, you know.
I agree,
because
totally.
Holly,
Especially when you already have a bunch of fish tanks, right?
Right, and I had
most of us do.
Remember, I'm the
Seahorse.
I'm the nut that added on
Seahorse
3
tanks. I had 6 Seahorse tanks, and then I set up the tubs, and I'm gonna do it again. But I had literally had to shave off a wall, not shave off, but make sure nothing was against a wall. And it takes an entire wall of an entire room to do these tubs for me because I had tanks up against the other walls. So if you don't have the room, there's other ways, and we'll cover them in future Wine Wednesdays. But Cheryl's showing us the right way.
Yeah, I always said, who needs furniture when you can have Seahorse tanks?
Yeah,
if you're
you need to get rid of your TV, all that,
you guys,
because then you'll be watching Seahorses. You won't have time to watch TV. Or do like Heather and get a sea shed.
Sea shed, absolutely. I'm so sorry. My daughter's texting and saying, I'm going to walk home if you don't come get me now. I have to go get her from work.
We'd let you go.
So I'm going to have to end this. Yeah, but if you guys want to stay for the after party, of course, I'll be back in 5 minutes. But I am going to have to stop the live. So thank you so much, Cheryl, for sharing. Thank you to everybody who came. Thank you to Robert King for the chart or the Robert King Chambers. We'll share more about that soon. Don't forget MACNA's coming up in a couple of weeks. There will be a Seahorse and Pipefish event. Not sure if I can actually make it myself, but there will be an event, and Women in Reefing, of course. And so stay tuned for that. And we will be back next week. And watch for the post about Seahorse Source, or Ask Seahorse Source Part 4. And we'll see you next week. Everybody say goodnight. Where's my wine glass? I actually have wine left. Look at that.
Good